Alright, so archery season is upon us. I'm sure it's approaching, if not already going in other parts of the country, but here in Massachusetts, usually starts in October. So I just wanted to go over some checklists. If you have not hunted before, you want to make sure you have your hunting license. If you do not have your hunting license, you will probably need to take a hunter education course. I definitely recommend doing that far in advance, not last minute. So although it might be too late for some people, you might be able to jump on that. So you'll want a hunting license. Here in Massachusetts, that gives you 2 antlered deer tags. You also have the opportunity to either enter a lottery or actually get basically surplus doe tags to be able to hunt doe. If you have that ability to get a doe tag, I recommend it, because if you're out in the woods and you see a deer, you want pretty much the best chance at getting a deer, especially if you have never gotten a deer before. You will want to make sure that you have your archery stamps. That gives you the ability, essentially gives you access to the archery season within Massachusetts. So other states might be different, but here in Massachusetts you need an archery stamp to be able to use a bow and hunt the archery season. That's also going to give you the ability to use a bow within the other seasons for deer, including shotgun and the primitive firearm season. I believe if you are hunting the primitive firearm season, even with a bow, you still need the primitive firearm season stamp. So just a heads up, it's usually the last 2 weeks of December. The shotgun season is usually the first 2 weeks of December, basically starting after Thanksgiving. And yeah, like I said, the archery season here in Massachusetts will be starting in October. In October, it can be pretty buggy, so you just want to be prepared for that. There's still lots of green and foliage and mosquitoes, ticks, that sort of stuff. It's much different than November. November it starts to get a lot cooler. Bugs have hopefully died off by then. It's just a much different landscape, so it's a different feeling going in October. Heat is still an issue, so sometimes you get up into a tree and there's bugs flying all over the place. So obviously you'll need a bow of some sort. Some people choose to hunt with a recurve. It's going to be at least 40 pounds. However, the majority of people actually hunt with a compound bow. So recurve or compound. Recurve is a lot harder to shoot and hit your target. A lot of recurve guys want their target to be basically somewhere within 10, maybe 15 yards when they take a shot with a recurve. Compound, basically guys are shooting 10, 20, sometimes 30, maybe even 40 yards. A lot of guys are a lot more confident with compound bow. So you'll want to make sure you have your bow. You'll want to make sure you're well practiced. You want to be able to hit well inside a paper plate at your target distance, whether it's 10 yards, 15, 20, 30 yards. I personally highly recommend, if you want to be a little more mobile and comfortable, you can always get something like this. Just a basic hiking sneaker. I'd recommend that if you're going to be sticking mostly to trails, not going too deep into the woods. You know, they can be a little more comfortable, they're lighter. But I am personally a big fan of something like this. This particularly is Field and Stream. I don't think you can really find these too easily anymore because they used to sell them at Dick's Sporting Goods before they got super anti-outdoors. But the reason I like something like this is, one, it's good protection against ticks, a lot better than the sneakers because it goes a lot higher. If you're going to be going really deep into the woods, into unknown terrain, this is going to get you through pretty much anything the woods can throw at you. If you hit rivers or streams or really deep muddy puddles, this is going to be great. So this is my choice, because even if you're on a path and you know, it's nice easy access getting in there, and you're just setting up a tree stand maybe 10-15 yards off the path, might be easy to get in there. But what if you get a deer and it runs off somewhere deep into the woods and you're trying to track it and you're hitting all sorts of like weird, like, you know, puddles and, you know, streams and rivers? This is going to be a lot easier to get around. Of course, camo is a given. Again, for archery season in October, it's going to be pretty warm, so you generally want to dress on the lighter side. Cotton should be fine for October at least. One of my favorite pieces of gear is this, year round. I wear this thing for archery season, for spring turkey season. I wear this during shotgun season in December. And if I go out for primitive firearm season, I use this. This is like years old at this point, beaten, but this is basically, it's waterproof. So this is Frog Togs makes this, and I haven't really seen the camo version of this. Whenever you see Frog Togs now, they have like black and, you know, navy blue, and yeah, they don't really, I don't see the camo too often. So if you do happen to find a camo version one of these, I highly recommend it because it's actually pretty warm and it's completely waterproof. So, you know, and it doesn't really, it's not like a rain jacket. It really kind of like absorbs, you know, the sound of the rain hitting. It's like really weird. It's hard to explain what it does, but it is one of my favorite pieces of hunting gear. And I will have to replace it eventually because it's like really getting worn out because I just wear it so much and it's gotten ripped up by thorns and such. You know, I go deep during shotgun season. I'm just getting torn up by thorns. So as you can see again, Frog Togs. And I wear this, basically, I usually do like overalls, so it's kind of like a barrier between me and the woods. So like, you know, I got these nice briar-proof and waterproof overalls. So when I put those overalls over these boots, it's like creating a nice barrier. So I could like probably go into like practically knee-high water and I would never get wet because I got the bog boots on and I got the overalls on top of it, which is waterproof, so it's kind of creating like a nice seal. It's really, really great. And then over that, I wear this, and you know, again, this is waterproof, so I'm basically covered head to toe in waterproof gear. So really nothing nature can throw at me bothers me. I've hunted in like all sorts of crazy, like rain, and you know, the only thing rain will do is it'll affect my hat, but I even have a, let me go grab it. I got a nice Carhartt hat. So this is made by Carhartt. This is a nice orange cap. So I wear this during shotgun season. You don't have to wear this during archery season. You could. But one bad year I had during shotgun season, it was so rainy and snowy. It was like horrible. My hat got soaked, but it was also cold, so it was like freezing. Basically, the next month I ended up getting this, and then I got some like nice waterproof gloves, because that winter was just like awful. It was like, really, I was in the woods and it was just like the worst thing ever, and we were hunting all day long. It was just like raining and then snowing and then sleeting, and it was just like a tough day. So yeah, after that I ended up getting this orange hat that's completely waterproof, and again, I got some orange waterproof gloves. And as far as gloves go, I always get fingerless. It's going to help for archery, but it's also ventilation, covers your hands. You know, if you're completely camo and then your hands are exposed and they're just skin, you know, that's just something easy for deer to see. So I like to cover my hands, even if it's not for the purposes of being cold. But also, the gloves kind of provide some separation between you and nature. You know, when you're out there, you just got all sorts of like spiders and mosquitoes and bugs and like nasty funguses growing on the trees. So I like to have like, you know, some sort of barrier between me and nature. So again, I like wearing gloves. For archery season, you're going to want to keep it light. And I don't mind just, even if they're not fingerless, I usually just cut off the fingers just to provide some good ventilation. Even in December, in the coldest days, could be 18 degrees. If you're out in the woods walking around, don't forget the woods kind of provide some sort of like thermal effect where, you know, the wind isn't able to really go through the trees as easily as in like an open field. So, you know, it can be pretty warm in the woods even if it's inherently cold. But if you're doing a lot of walking around, lugging like 40 pounds worth of gear, 50, 60 pounds worth of gear, just walking, you can get really hot. And what ends up happening is you end up sweating within the glove, and then when you finally rest, take a breather, basically at that point, the cold starts setting in. All that sweat within your glove starts to freeze. Now you start getting like really over cold. So I've just tended to find that if you just cut those fingers off, not your actual fingers, but the fingers to the gloves, just helps with the ventilation. You still get the warmth of the glove. And also, if you're hunting, again, probably doesn't matter if you have a trigger release for your bow, but it does make like manipulation of bows and arrows a lot easier, shotguns, primitive firearm stuff, you know, done. Anyway, some other things you're going to want to think about. So you get some boots, you get some rainproof jackets. Highly recommend the rainproof jacket. Here in Massachusetts, we do not have to wear orange, so grab a hat either way, whatever you want to do. Orange, no orange, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so other than the gear, you got your hunting license, you've got your archery tag, stamp, you've got your hat. You want to cover, especially if you're bald, you want to cover your head, because again, you don't want your skin showing up to a deer so much. I mean, if you can cover your face somehow with like a face mask, even better. But also don't forget, camo is largely a myth. I would say our older generations basically went hunting in blue jeans and plaid vests. They had no problems hunting deer. A lot of it is movement based. So, you know, even if your hands are kind of exposed, the deer might not see you if you're pretty still. But if you're like waving your hands around, smoking a cigarette, just moving around playing with your phone, it's probably going to see that. But, you know, if you're pretty good at standing still, think of it like a T-Rex, you know, in Jurassic Park. It sees the movement, but if you stay still, you know, they're not so great because their vision really isn't all that good. Don't forget, they have like this crazy wide vision, and what triggers it is movement. It's not, they don't really have the ability to hone in on a single detail. So you'll often see when a deer kind of thinks you're there, it doesn't really know. You know, it sees you, looks up at you, and it's sitting there moving around to try to see if it can see any movement. And a lot of times it'll stomp its foot to try to get you to like move. It wants to scare you. But if you can just like fool it and just stay still, I mean, eventually it's going to give up. It's going to be like, oh no, that was nothing. So, you're going to want a tree stand. People hunt from the ground, hunt from ground blinds. I've never had success in a ground blind. I think tree stands are great. You have a couple of different options for tree stands. Me personally, over the years, I've kind of gotten sick of purchasing tree stand after tree stand, putting them out before the season, taking them down. You know, you have hang-on tree stands, you got ladder tree stands. A lot of people are comfortable with ladder tree stands, you know, for the security and safety. But man, over the years, it's tiring dealing with them. And you're locked into a spot. So you put up a tree stand and you decide you don't like that spot, it's all over. I mean, it's basically a whole day or two project to move it. So I prefer the climbing tree stands these days. If you're lucky, you can get them around 18, 20 pounds. A lot of them might be in the 30 to 40 pound range, so they can be pretty heavy. But you can carry them in anywhere, and at the end of the day, you just climb down and pack it up and take it with you, and if you decide to change a spot, there you go. The other thing you're going to want to make sure of, if you're driving a car, how are you going to transport this deer after you get it? You're going to need to make sure you have access to a pickup truck, or you're going to have to be comfortable strapping that deer to the top of your car. So you're going to have to think about that. Importantly, you're going to have to make sure you know what you're going to be doing as far as butchering goes. Are you going to do it yourself, or are you prepared to bring it to a butcher? And if you are prepared to bring it to a butcher, do you have that butcher picked out like now, not, you know, after the fact? You don't want to like get a deer and sit there and have it rotting because you didn't do your homework and no butcher is available. So it's a good idea to know of, you know, maybe 2 or 3 butchers just in case, you know, they're backed up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's archery deer season starting in October here in Massachusetts. If you have anything to add to this list, just comment, and don't forget to give this a like and subscribe.